I have another special person today, my dad. Yay! We did our own yay. So if you don't know, my husband and I live with my dad. We've been here for like a year and a half probably. The plan was to move in before our wedding, save up some money and buy a house, but then COVID happened and plans kind of changed and got a little bit longer than we originally planned. So it works out really well. We all get to hang out together and everybody has their own little spaces, and my dad gets to be involved in our life more than he probably would if we lived in our own house. So it's worked well for us. But you guys asked him a bunch of questions. I tried to put them kind of in chronological order so that it makes the most sense. And we'll let you get to know a little bit about him. First question is from Allison Mayton Holt, and she says, I'd love to hear more about your dad's life. There's a lot of questions. Where did you grow up? Favorite place you have traveled? And greatest accomplishment?
I grew up in the American Midwest, born in Wisconsin, grade school in Iowa, high school and onward in Michigan, and went to University of Notre Dame for college, worked in Michigan for a few years, and then moved to Cincinnati, where I've been since.
Lived a lot of places.
I have. We bounced around a little bit when I was a kid. And favorite place to travel. My wife and I, after we got married, went to London and Paris, and one of our side trips was to the Loire Valley, where we had a really good tour guide. It was a bus tour with a French tour guide, and she was very good at giving all the background stories about everything, and I love that kind of stuff. And we stopped at a winery for lunch and had a bottle of wine and lunch, which was way too much wine for split two ways.
They always do that.
we survived. We didn't get car sick on the rest of the bus ride, so I guess that was a success.
You usually get car sick.
Yeah.
It's impressive. I gotta get the party poop. All right, and then your greatest accomplishment.
Greatest accomplishment. Maybe just having and raising kids, I guess. That's
my accomplishment.
Yep.
Wow.
You're my greatest accomplishment.
Wow.
So there.
I'll take it. Trying to fix the lighting with his glasses, but I don't think we can get it. I think it's just gonna be shiny. Now it's dark, so we'll see. It might change again. Next one is from AB Adventures. They said, does your dad love Disney as much as you do? And what was his favorite ride experience there?
Probably not as much as Amy does.
It's hard to do.
I had never been my whole life until I got married, and my wife was a huge fan of Disney and took me there a bunch of times. So we had a lot of experience as a childless couple before we ever had kids and knew our way around. She knew her way around before we were married and got to show me the park. What was the other thing?
What's your favorite ride?
Favorite ride?
Or experience?
Favorite experience was one time we went down there for 10th wedding anniversary, probably 10th, and just the two of us, and had Amy and Scott babysat by my sister-in-law, and we did a behind-the-scenes tour for a whole day, and that was really cool. I enjoyed that a lot, where we got to see the mechanics behind several of the rides, and backstage areas, and had a really good dinner, and I think we went to 3 of the parks. We definitely did Epcot and Magic Kingdom.
We did like an abbreviated one of those, right?
Yeah, we did the half-day version.
Yeah, we got to see all the stuff.
Instead of the full-day version.
All the behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's something you want to be very familiar with the park, because it kind of spoils the magic a little bit, where you realize how the things actually work. But and you realize how close the backstage areas are to the on-stage areas. You just walk through a little gap in the fence somewhere, and all of a sudden you're in the backstage.
It's impressive. They hide things well. Even trash cans. They hide the trash cans well.
Yeah.
They're all themed. Nobody can like, well, not nobody. It's hard to like Disney as much as I like it. It's hard to be on the same level. Another camera angle. One day we'll get your glasses to work with the light. All right, the next one is from Carrie Punton and says, how alike are the two of you, or are your personalities completely different?
I'd say we're both introverts, both uncomfortable in social situations in general. I've always been a very scientific-minded person, very precise and into mathematics and having things well-defined. And Amy, I think, is more touchy-feely.
Yeah.
I majored in physics in college, and when my mom found that out, she said she must have brought the wrong baby home from the hospital.
You weren't the same.
Yeah, that was her least favorite subject in college.
That's where I got my
I
skills
guess so.
from my therapy field.
Skipped a generation.
Yeah, skipped a generation.
Your mom was very, she was always the social person in between the two of us.
She always, at like dance when I would go, she would like talk to all the other people, and I'd be like, how do you just have a conversation so easily, like with anyone? How do you do that? I never understood how you could just walk up to someone and start talking to them.
She would go to pick you up after you had a sleepover with Alexis or Christine and talk to their moms for hours.
And I'd be like, okay, it's time to go. And then we'd be like, we still got like 3 hours. It's fine. It's not time to go. But I think we are alike in like some of the stuff we like to do too. Like we both like to do wine tastings and kind of like, I feel like we like doing quality time things together.
Theater and ballet.
Yeah.
And
we like to go to different restaurants and try stuff. And traveling, we both like to travel to new places. I think like the stuff we do in our free time is similar. We both do forums and stuff, but our jobs are not similar at all. New location. We'll see how this one goes. Okay, we're moving on to a new category of questions as well. This is like moving on to when you were having kids, basically. So I'm sure you don't know this, but that my dad, when he was having kids, had difficulties at first having kids too, right? That you guys struggled for like
many years of infertility treatments of various sorts.
So he is familiar with a similar situation. So first one of this is from Mrs. Toucan19. It said, ooh, what was one thing that surprised him the most about becoming a parent?
Just how nonstop it is, that you never get a break. We used to talk how when we were aunt and uncle and babysitting kids, you could go out and have fun with them and then hand them back to their parents at the end of the day when they were cranky and tired, and go back home and have your nice quiet house to yourself still. And when it's your kid, you don't really get that break. You have to deal with the tired and cranky kid and somehow try to get them to sleep. And then when they wake up in the middle of the night, you're the one who has to deal with it. And it's a very full-time job, which I knew going in, but you don't really appreciate it until it happens.
And probably the lack of sleep and lack of free time adds to it, because like you could do that for a week and it'd be fine, but if you do that for 18 years, then it gets harder.
Well, it gets, I mean, you're not waking up as much in the middle of the night once your kid is 5 years old.
Yeah, the difficult part changes. You get more sleep, but other things become harder. I have a couple that are very similar, so I'm just going to say the ones that are similar at the same time. So this one's My Circus Monkey 84, and then Katie Evanson also said the same thing. If he had to pick one thing that he is most proud of you for, what would it be?
I would say when she was in university, during her sophomore year, she did a semester abroad in Europe, where she would have been 19 years old, I guess, and was pretty much taken off the plane, put into an apartment, and left on her own to survive in a foreign country. She went to Leiden in the Netherlands, and
they speak Dutch. They don't even speak.
Really didn't go with anybody she knew or anything. She had to make all new friends, and learn her way around a strange city and go to a completely different college. It was like an associate program with her university, and she did really well and made new friends and got to see a lot of Europe and had a great time. I think it ended up being one of the highlights of her life, but it was a real leap into the deep end of the pool.
This one's kind of similar, but slightly different. This is from Aisha, I think. What is your favorite memory of baby Amy?
She used to be very verbal even before she could talk. She would walk around the island in our kitchen and just babble to herself, and she would take books and read them to her stuffed animals and her dolls, and she always was a big talker. When she got old enough to talk, she would do a lot of role-playing type play where she would hand you a little doll or something and say, "Be him."
I was convincing.
There was one time we went to a restaurant and it took a long time for them to bring the menus, and she handed me a fork and said, "Be him."
You're
so
like,
I had to play acting game with a fork, and she had a knife or something.
Had to improv. A lot of improvising.
There was a lot of improv, yes. Although it tended to follow the same script a lot.
At least you knew your script.
Yeah.
This one, again, is kind of similar. Mama of Boys said favorite childhood memory together. So not necessarily baby, but just child in general. There's a million of them to choose from.
Yeah.
There's too many choices.
Yeah, hard to narrow it down.
Too many of them?
Yeah.
Do you want to give you an age range instead or something?
Maybe.
What about favorite trip we went on together? We went on lots of trips.
Yeah. That last trip we did before your mom got sick, when we went to, I think that was when we went to Busch Gardens and then Disney World and
the cruise, I think.
Yeah, and then we drove up north to pick up Scott. We did like end to end on I-75 that summer.
That was a lot.
And got to do a lot of fun stuff along the way. Just riding in the car together, we would get a lot of interaction. That was always something your mom liked, that you would get everybody in the car with no distractions. I mean, now everybody has a phone and stuff. But
now you do.
we would play license plate games or trying to get letters from signs and just do a lot of talking, and it was a good family bonding time.
Mom liked talking.
Yes.
I always hate that part of trips, of driving in the car. I was like, this is so long. I just want to be there. I like that because we went to the cruise for my dance team. My dance team like performed on a cruise ship, so we drove down to Florida early, I think, and went to Busch Gardens, and then we went to the cruise ship and did that with my dance team. And then I think Mom was like, well, we can't come to Florida and not go to Disney World. So then we had to go to Disney World. Is that right?
Yeah, and then it was later in the summer that Scott went to his camp up in northern Michigan.
Yeah.
I think she dropped him off by herself, and then the three of us went up to get him, and then we went to Traverse City and did the Cherry Festival.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of driving. I was like, I just got home from driving to Florida. I don't want to drive to Michigan.
It's not as long a trip, but it's still...
It feels long.
Yeah.
Right, my phone ran out of storage, so hopefully that last answer did not cut itself off. We deleted some things. We're going to try to finish it without running out of storage. The next one is from Rachel White 289. It says, if you could pick one piece of advice in regards to raising babies, what would that be? Which again, I'm sure there's a lot of advice you could give.
I would say patience. It's kids tend not to do what you want them to do. They tend to do it not nearly as quickly as you could do it, and you have to get used to standing back and letting them mess up and learn from their mistakes sometimes. If it's something that's not dangerous, then my attitude was let them try to handle it, and they'll learn more than if you push them aside and did it yourself. when they started doing computer games, it used to drive me crazy where they'd be moving the mouse around and I'd say, it's right there.
You can do it. My dad works on computers, so he uses them all day, every day, and is pretty good at using them, which we were not. Now we are. Now we're very good at technology, but I understand that problem of working with kids and not having them do what is so easy to do. I feel like you're always good at that. You're always good at like letting us figure things out or letting us do it on our own. And it's always like, my dad never does that. He never like pushes me out of the way and it's like, you're too slow, I can do this.
Yeah, that was something I always felt like my parents did very well with me that I wanted to duplicate with my kids, was to let me know they had confidence in me and faith in me and were willing to let me have some independence and go out and do things. And if I messed up, then hopefully it wouldn't be too bad.
So far, it hasn't been too bad. So far, we're still alive and doing well. So I'd say it worked.
Both have all your toes and fingers.
Yeah. And... we're doing well. Michelle 86. They say, has he picked up any TikTok dance moves when he comes on the app to check your updates?
No. I am a terrible dancer and have not studied any TikTok dances because I would be on the unintentional comedy genre.
You would not like that.
When we went on a cruise together, Amy dragged me to a session where they taught you to do the Thriller dance from Michael Jackson's Thriller video. And her brother sat up in the balcony just so he could mock my lame attempts at dancing.
Just laughed the whole time. He thought it was great. My dad did not think it was as great.
Yeah.
But he does come on TikTok and watch my videos. He got his own TikTok just to follow my my videos and stories. So he checks in and likes every one of the videos, which is nice and supportive. I appreciate that. Most people don't, parents aren't as like involved in their like day-to-day life, like I said in the beginning. Because we live here, I feel like you get to be more involved in things that you probably would just hear about every once in a while.
Yeah.
We met up to hang out, which is nice.
That is nice. That's been a nice benefit of having you living in the same house.
We get to be involved in everything. Moments with Renee said, what advice as a parent of a child going through infertility struggles would you pass on to someone else in those shoes? And also, you're somebody who has gone through infertility in the past,
right.
So you've kind of had multiple experiences.
Yeah. I feel like that's much harder on the woman than the man part of the couple. I know my wife took it as failure of her as a woman that she couldn't have a kid when everybody else was popping out kids with no problem. And I think she got a lot more support from her women friends. She worked in an office with 400 people, most of whom were women. And she had a lot of people with similar stories and people that could give her recommendations for stuff. And everybody's different, and the thing you have to do, I think, is listen to your kid and find out what they want, what they need. It might not always be obvious, and I'm never sure if I'm doing as much as I should be, but I think you can find out from your child what they want from you and try to give them that. And that's my generic and maybe not very helpful advice.
I agree with that, though. I think that like you do a good job of just listening, of like the stereotypical guy response is the trying to fix it sort of thing, and I never feel like you do that you're always like,
here's what you should
do. You're always engaging and listening and saying, yeah, that does suck, or if I want to like go do something fun as a distraction, you're like, all right, let's go get a glass of wine or whatever it is that we're gonna do. So I feel like that's helpful. I'm just showing support, like following on TikTok and listening to whatever I talk about is helpful, knowing that I'm not alone doing it. The poodles came to join us. They're here to be sad. The next one is from Kay Burke. do you have any family traditions? And there's a second part that says, what do you most look forward to with future grandchildren?
We have a lot of family traditions around holidays, I guess. We typically do an Easter egg hunt where we get the little plastic eggs and hide them. We did that inside the house last Easter when we were in the midst of social distancing. And we would always do Easter baskets and have lots of candies and goodies and big chocolate bunnies.
We still do that now.
Yeah.
Still do Easter candies.
And we always had a big dinner at Thanksgiving, and we had a bunch of Christmas traditions. We would read the night before Christmas on Christmas Eve, and we still do that together.
We still do like all of our traditions, even though we're all in our 20s and almost 30s. Minus you. You're not in your 20s and 30s.
No, I'm not.
And I feel like family vacations was kind of a tradition. Like, not really, but most summers we went on some sort of vacation, whether it was a big one like to Disney World, or if it was visiting family in another state, or something small.
And even just going out to lunch after church every week was kind of a tradition. And sometimes the aunts and uncles and cousins would join in with us, and we'd get to spend some family time with that.
Yeah, that was fun. I liked doing that. Going to eat together.
Amy and Scott would get to alternate picking the restaurant every week. So.
I don't know how we got that. There was like a bunch of other kids with us, and somehow we were always the two that picked the restaurant.
I think because they always felt like they were joining into our thing instead of, and didn't want to take it over.
Or we were the pickiest eaters, so they knew that their kids would eat anywhere else. Then the second part of that was, what do you most look forward to with future grandchildren? And also, there's other people that asked that same one. Mommy TTC Journey said, what are you most looking forward to when you become a granddad?
Are you taping this? Well,
yes.
You are.
I am.
Okay, cut that out.
Here. There you go.
Okay. I always enjoyed reading books at bedtime. I think reading to kids is something I enjoy doing, or singing songs with them. I've always enjoyed singing, and it's fun to sing with the kid because they're so uninhibited and sing along, non-judgmental also.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you, you sing really bad.
Not at first. We'll get there.
Yeah.
I was talking to my husband about that, saying that a lot of people talk to kids in that little baby voice and they're just so cute, and like actually that's not really good developmentally, and I feel like you talked to us in like a normal voice, which is actually really good for development and language and all of that. So reading to them in that kind of voice is actually a very helpful, beneficial thing.
Yeah. And just getting the sense of how books work. You go through it in sequence, and the idea that reading is something you do together as a family. I'm good at modeling reading also, because I read all the time.
He does like to read. You're good at that. TTC HCM 17, they said, of course any grandbaby would be a blessing, but is he hoping for a grandson or a granddaughter?
I would say a daughter, I guess. We had one of each, so I'm accustomed to both, I guess, but every kid is different, but I think there is something to the stereotypes of boys tend to be more physically active and girls tend to be more mentally active and emotionally in touch. I enjoy playing with Legos and playing catch with a frisbee, and there are things I could do with a boy that would be physical, but I like, again, reading books and singing songs and stuff, and I feel like that's more stereotypically a girl thing to do, although again, some girls are going to want to go outside and run around, and some boys are going to want to sit around and read books.
Sounds very similar to my answer. That I said that I would prefer to have a girl first because I feel like I can relate to them better, that I like don't do stereotypical boy things, and I don't plan to raise my kids stereotypically like gender norms anyways, but I don't know. I feel like I could relate to a girl better.
I grew up in a family with 3 boys and was never around girls very much, and felt like I was lacking in that experience, but my wife was almost the complete opposite, where they had 6 girls and 1 boy in their family, so I was exposed to a lot of sisters-in-law and had to raise a daughter too, so I picked up some experience there anyway.
Now you're used to it.
Yeah, now I know somewhat how to deal with girls. Although again, every kid is different.
Yeah, that's the hard part of answering a question like that. Is you're like, just because you have a boy or a girl, it doesn't mean that it's going to be one specific way.
Yeah.
It doesn't really mean much of anything, at least for me. Like when I bought all those baby clothes the other day, people were commenting that I had a lot of like boy clothing, and I was like, well, I would use these clothes for any baby that I get. That I don't plan on using pink frilly tutus for girls or trucks and tools for boys.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, you can go for any baby. Our last question is from Lychee MCD on Instagram. Said, are you going to be a grandpa who gives all the candy at bedtime, or a sensible grandpa?
I can kind of tell from the way the question is asked which way I'm supposed to answer, but I am a very responsible, by the rules kind of person, but I feel like part of the fun of grandparents too is that they do the things that mom and dad don't, that the rules are relaxed, and the grandpa comes to visit and says, oh, look, I might have a coin in my pocket for you. And takes them to the restaurant where they don't usually get to go and lets them run through the mud puddle with their shoes off. And so I'll try to strike a good middle ground. Definitely no candy at bedtime. That's
that would be mean.
Yeah, that is.
Be like, here, take them back.
Just inviting not to be asked back again.
That's true. I feel like you would be a sensible grandpa. I feel like you're a pretty sensible person in general, but I didn't expect you to say that, like, the fun grandpas get to do the fun stuff. So that'll be like a new side to you that I get to see, your adventurous side.
Transgressive side.
Yeah. That is all of our questions that we have for this time. If you guys have more questions, you can leave them below or follow me on Instagram or TikTok and leave other ones, and we can do this again. I hope this was fun, because some of these I don't really talk to him about, or don't really have these conversations outside of this situation. So it's fun to get to hear some of your ideas about these things. Anything else you've got?
Nothing to say. Thanks for following Amy.
Yeah, thanks for following me. Goodbye.